Hi guys! Today we have another Halloween recipe inspired by one of my favorite movies, Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. We'll be making Sally's soup. In making the soup, we really want to make sure to get that nice creepy green color, kind of like a slime green. So there are quite a few ingredients, but making the soup really isn't that hard at all. With that being said, for this recipe you'll need 4 cups of spinach, 3 cups of kale, 2 cups of broccoli, 2 cups of cauliflower, 4 stalks of celery, 2 medium-sized potatoes. I'm going to be using red potatoes, but you can use any type of potato you like. 2 cups of butternut squash, 1 yellow onion, 3 tablespoons of butter, unsalted, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 4 cups of bone broth. And you can use chicken broth or chicken stock instead, but since we're making a Halloween soup, we're going to use bone broth. And actually bone broth is much more nutritious than chicken stock or chicken broth, or any broth or stocks in general. The bone broth is always much more nutrient dense. 1 cup of sour cream, 1/4 cup of heavy cream, 1 cup of Muenster cheese shredded, and of course you can substitute a Monterey Jack or a mozzarella or any other similar cheese if you don't have the Muenster cheese. But we're using Muenster cheese because it sounds like monster and it goes with the theme of the soup. Plus it's actually so delicious in the soup. And I actually don't know if you pronounce it Muenster, but we're just gonna go with it. 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. And of course, salt and pepper to taste as always. If you need to add more salt or more pepper, definitely do that. First thing we're gonna do is dissect the celery and the onion. And go grab yourself either a Dutch oven or a stock pot, or just a large pot. I'm going to be using a Dutch oven. Go ahead and turn your stove onto a medium heat and add your 3 tablespoons of butter to the pot. We want to melt this completely. Now that our butter is melted, we're going to go ahead and add the chopped onion and celery. We're going to go ahead and give it a stir, and we're going to cook this until the onions are translucent and the celery begins to soften. I'm going to move this on the back burner to cook while we chop up some more vegetables. Next, we're going to mince up some garlic. Kind of rule of thumb when you're in the kitchen, or I guess you could even say kitchen hack, usually 1 clove of garlic is equivalent to a teaspoon of minced garlic. So that being said, we need 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. I'm going to mince up 3 cloves, and that should roughly give us the right amount. While you're chopping up the other vegetables, don't forget to stir the ingredients in the pot. Now that we got the garlic minced, we're going to go ahead and chop up the potatoes and the butternut squash. We're probably only going to need 1/2, but I'm going to go ahead and clean both just in case. We're just going to cut the butternut squash into cubes. Now we're going to go ahead and add the potatoes and butternut squash to the pot along with the garlic. I'm just going to measure out 2 cups of the butternut squash with a measuring cup, and I'm probably going to do heaping cups. The butternut squash measured out to be a little less than a half butternut squash, maybe closer to 3/4 a half a butternut squash. We're going to give this a stir and let it cook for another 5 minutes. While that's cooking, we're going to go ahead and chop up the broccoli, cauliflower, and kale. And on these 3 ingredients, we're just going to do a rough chop. We're going to go ahead and add our broccoli. Once again, for all these ingredients, I am doing heaping cupfuls. I I ended up using about 3/4 a medium head of broccoli. And I ended up using a whole small head of cauliflower. I'm using the kale stems. Obviously you don't have to, but we don't waste anything around here, so I'm gonna throw them in. We are going to carefully give this a stir and try to keep everything in the pot. We're now going to add the chicken bone broth. And we're going to go ahead and give it a stir, and then we'll allow it to cook on medium heat for 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes, and I'm just going to go ahead and use a fork to make sure that our potatoes and butternut squash are soft and tender. And they do seem to be. But if yours don't seem quite done yet, go ahead and leave it on for another 10 to 15 minutes. Now we're going to go ahead and add our spinach. We're going to cover the pot back up and allow it to sit for about 2 to 3 minutes just to let the spinach wilt. Now that our spinach has wilted some, we're going to go ahead and give it a stir and incorporate it into the soup. Now we're going to go ahead and add our sour cream, heavy cream, cheese, salt and pepper, and nutmeg. And now we'll go ahead and give it a stir. Make sure you stir it until the cheese is fully incorporated. We don't want it melting in clumps. Now we'll let this simmer for just a few minutes, about 3 to 5 minutes. Now I know it doesn't have that spooky green color that we're looking for yet, but that comes with the next part, which is the most fun part. We're going to put this in the blender and blend it up. We're going to use the ladle to transfer it into the blender. Now you might have to blend the soup in batches like me, but that's totally okay. And here we have Sally's soup, her warm wort soup. Obviously, if you have an immersion blender, that is the perfect tool for blending up this soup, but if you don't, then a blender works just fine. Serve this up garnished with a bit more Muenster cheese, and serve it with some Jack Skellington black charcoal bread, which if you haven't seen that video of mine, you can check that out right here. Thank you guys for watching. If you happen to like this video or found it interesting or helpful planning your Halloween party, go ahead and give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. If you have any comments, questions, Halloween recipe suggestions, I'm even taking suggestions for Thanksgiving and Christmas recipes, go ahead and leave those below in the comments section. Bye y'all.